Hi, I'm Dave MacDonald. I'm a composer, and I would like to introduce you to this creation that I call the Sampolin. The Sampolin was inspired by an instrument that was originally created by singer-songwriter, performance artist, composer Laurie Anderson, called the tape bow violin. And Laurie Anderson's tape bow violin, very simply, was an analog electronic instrument. She had the body of a violin. She's actually a violinist, I'm not. And about where you would normally bow the violin, she had a tape playhead, and on the bow, instead of hairs, she had magnetic tape. And she could draw the bow across the tape playhead, and it would play the sample that was recorded on the magnetic tape. And she could play it forwards or backwards at any speed she wanted to draw the bow. So I set about to create a digital version of Laurie Anderson's tape bow violin, and I needed to do it because I don't have a lot of money for less than about $100. So I found this violin new on eBay for $40, and it included a case and a bow. So it's a really terrible violin, but thankfully I didn't need it to be a violin. I just needed it to be a box in the shape of a violin. And what we did, with the help of a couple other composers, Nate Bliton and Sam Merciers, we took the back off. You can see it's screwed on now. And inside of here there's all manner of electronics. And if you look in the F-holes, actually, you can see there are a bunch of wires sticking out, and there's a whole mess of wires in there. We've got plugs. Plug into a USB here on the side, and this plug on the back is to the bow. We've got some switches on the side, some buttons on the neck, and then here, where the tuners normally are, we've got some knobs that we can play with. Now, not all of these have functions right now, but what this does is when I touch the bow hairs to the string can tell where on the bow it's being touched. So if I touch here, it knows that I'm touching up near the frog, and then if I touch here, it knows that I'm touching up near the tip. And it sends that information to the computer. And then the computer uses that information to tell what part of the sample it should be playing at. So instead of having an analog sample attached to the bow, the Sampolin is just sending information to the computer where it has digital samples stored. And we go into the computer over USB, and if you look at the computer screen here, this is a little more complicated than it needs to be, but you can see when I bow, you'll see that slider is moving along with the bow. And I'm getting some noise as I bump into the other string. But you'll see that that motion on the screen comes from me doing this with the bow. I can also get these button presses into PD, and as I press a button down in bow, you'll hear a sample. So if I play it at just the right speed, it'll sound a lot like Winston Churchill saying that this was their finest hour.
This was their finest hour.
I can also play it backwards. I've got different samples in here for two of these different strings. The strings aren't very taut, so it's very hard to get just one of the strings as we have it right now. I'm going to work on a better system for that. But I can change samples by pressing these buttons. So here's a sample of Milton Babbitt. That's not a sample of Milton Babbitt.
What is all this scratching of records?
So Milton Babbitt doesn't know much about hip-hop, and he's asking,
What is all this scratching of records?
what is all this scratching of records?
What is all this scratching of records?
So another feature is, in addition to playing back samples, you see that some of the samples, or most of the samples that I'm using, don't have a definite pitch. So it's somebody talking.
Production sound.
So this is John Cage.
Consider music production of sound.
I consider music to be the production of sound. But this knob here, as you can see, it looks like a tuning peg, but it's actually a knob. And as I turn it, it's changing the mix from being exclusively the raw sample of John Cage talking to a sample that has an effect on it that will pull out the nearest pitch in a major scale and play the same envelope with that pitch. So it's going to sound like some warbling pitches that are very similar to what you just heard John Cage say.
I'm with you, boy. All right, let's see this. With you, boy. All right, let's see this.
So, oh, I was playing the wrong sample actually. There we go. That's it. And you can hear very faintly in the background Cage still saying, "I consider music to be the production of sound." And then on top of that, you hear this layer of fluttering water droplet kind of sounds. And that's what's created by this effect that's pulling out the nearest pitch that it can figure out and playing that with the shape of the speech sample. As you can see, there are a lot of possibilities for different sounds that you can make with it, and I'm really excited to keep working on it, and I will be posting more videos with performances with the Sampolin in the future. So thanks for watching. Sampolin.
Do you want to do a bit with the knob? Or you didn't?
Oh, I forgot to mention the knob. Alright, whatever. We can stick it in the middle. We can edit things.
Yeah.